Have you, or someone you know, been in this situation?
What is this family doing differently?
The answer is simple. Knowing your tenant rights and responsibilities can make all the difference.
Many renters are evicted or face unnecessary problems because they lack knowledge about their rights and responsibilities. In the following scenes, we will be covering the following topics: how to get your security deposit back, rent rules, reading and understanding your lease, how to request repairs, and fair housing laws.
Okay, now that I've gone through the whole lease with you, I want to make sure you completely understand everything in here. Do you have any questions at all to ask me?
I'm sorry, what?
The lease I've already signed. Do you understand everything you're signing?
Oh no, I got it.
Okay, go ahead and sign right there.
Okay, so I can move in now, right?
Move in.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey, I just wanted to talk to you about my deposit. I don't understand why I'm not getting that back now that I'm moving.
Well, we did a walkthrough of your apartment and we noted several damages that you'll be responsible for, and that's where you lost your deposit.
Those were there when I moved in though.
Well, we don't have any proof of that. You were required to turn in a list in writing of any existing damages, and we didn't receive anything from you, so we have to assume that those were done while you were living there.
I didn't know that.
Remember we went through it when we went through your lease and you signed? It's stated clearly in there. So I'm sorry, but you just won't be getting your deposit back.
Okay, thanks.
The Texas Property Code, Section 92, states that a landlord has 30 days after a tenant leaves to refund the security deposit. If the tenant fulfills the lease contract and leaves the unit in good condition, except for normal wear and tear, the security deposit is always refundable. A tenant must meet these two conditions in order to get their deposit back. Make sure your rent is paid. Give your new address to the landlord. To increase your chances of getting your deposit back, you should also get written proof of any pre-existing damages in the apartment. The tenant should make a list of everything that is broken, stained, defective, or damaged when moving in, and both the tenant and the landlord should sign the lease and keep a copy. If the landlord will not cooperate, tenants can take pictures. Many landlords require 60-day notice of move-out, even if the lease does not require it. Giving the landlord notice prior to moving is always a good idea. When the tenant prepares to move out, the unit should be clean, and the landlord property manager asked to appear for an inspection. This will ensure that both parties know about any questionable damages and reduce the chance of disputes. The keys should be turned in on the exact day the tenant moves out. If the keys are turned in later, the landlord may be able to charge the tenant additional rent or other charges under the lease.
I received this statement on my door today, and it's about a past due notice. I put my rent in the drop box on Monday when it was due, like I normally do.
I'm sorry, but I never got it.
It was a cash payment, and I don't have any way of tracking it, but I promise I paid it.
Never put cash in the drop box, ever. You're gonna either have to pay or move out.
I can't afford to make 2 payments. What am I supposed to do? Can we work something out until I get my next check? I can't afford to lose this apartment. Where am I supposed to go?
I understand. I can talk to my boss and see if we can work something out, but typically you need to pay it in full.
Okay, thank you. I promise I won't make this mistake again.
Always make sure that you get a receipt. Even if you talk to myself or to the other property manager, always ask for a receipt. It's up to you to make sure that you have proof of payment. It's your responsibility.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Tenants should be clear about how to make rent payments. Can money be mailed? Should rent be hand-delivered? Can you drop your payments in the landlord's mailbox or on-site management drop slot? Ask your landlord about these details in the lease. If a tenant uses cash or money order for the rent payments, they should get a receipt from the landlord when the rent is paid. Remember, if you want it to be more than your words versus their words, get it in writing.
management office.
Hi, I was calling to see what you guys were going to do about the black mold in my apartment. I called you guys earlier, but nothing's happened.
Well, try using bleach, and if that doesn't work, then let me know.
You told me to try that. Well, I did, and it didn't work. It's still spreading, and it's making my family kind of sick.
Bleach has always worked, so maybe you're not using enough or scrubbing hard enough. I think you need to try it again, and if you're still not able to take care of the problem, then call and let me know.
I don't understand why this hasn't been taken care of already. It's an issue with my family's health and safety, and the landlord should have fixed this already.
Yes, that's true, but you've continued to let it spread for a long time. You might have to pay a fee to get this done now.
You've got to be joking me. I figured y'all would let me know as soon as something was going to be done, but I had to move my children elsewhere to live because of their health. You know what? I just want to speak to the owner as soon as possible.
The owner really doesn't have time to deal with issues like that. That's my job, and I told you I will get a hold of the maintenance staff, and they'll take care of this as soon as they can.
Okay. Can you please let me know when something is going to be done about it?
When requesting repairs that are a threat to health and safety, remember, all rent must be paid. If a landlord doesn't respond to telephone or oral repair requests, the tenant should send a letter by certified or registered mail to the landlord and/or property manager, which includes the date, the tenant's name and address, a description of the repair problem, a statement that the problem is a threat to health or safety, a request that the repair begin in a reasonable amount of time, 7 days for most repairs, or as little as 24 hours notice in emergencies, a request for a written response if the work cannot be completed by the deadline, and a signature.
After the deadline given in the first letter has passed, and if the landlord hasn't made a diligent effort to make the repairs, a tenant should write a second and final notice that is the same as the first. Keep a copy of this letter. The letter may be sent to the landlord by certified mail, return receipt requested, available through the post office, or hand-delivered to the landlord or manager. If the landlord has not made a diligent effort to make repairs after receiving written requests, then the tenant will need to go to court to enforce his rights.
Hi. I got this eviction notice at my door, and I'm not really sure what it's for. Do you think maybe you guys made a mistake?
Actually, the owner contacted me about this, and it looks like you've paid your rent late for the past 3 months. So even though you did pay the late fees, but it represents you as not really a responsible tenant. So he's trying to save himself problems in the future, and it sets an example, you know, for the other tenants. He just can't trust that you'll pay your rent on time.
Well, nobody told me that that would happen if I didn't pay my rent, so that's not really fair.
You could talk to the owner and I'll let him know, but you really need to go ahead and find somewhere else to live because he may still go through with this eviction. I'm not sure when he'll be able to talk to you or meet with you. He's really busy.
Okay, well, just tell me when he's available. I mean, I would meet at any time that he's available. Just let me know.
I'll call him and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, as soon as I hear from him.
Okay, well, I don't need this.
Often your lease will state that rent is due on the first day of the month. And if you do not pay your rent on the due date, the landlord usually has a discretion to either terminate your lease agreement or accept the rent and the appropriate late fee.
If the rent is going to be late, the tenant should contact the landlord immediately and attempt to reach an agreement with the landlord to get the rent current. It's best for the tenant to get a clear agreement in writing that the landlord will accept the late rent on a certain date and, in exchange, will allow the tenant to continue under the original lease agreement. This is a protection for the tenant because if rent is paid late, the landlord can still proceed with the eviction process because not paying rent on time is technically breaking the lease. There is no requirement that a landlord give a tenant a grace period to pay late rent.
So if the landlord accepts late rent before giving the tenant an eviction notice, the landlord gives up the right to evict for late payment of rent.
I see you've applied for a 1-bedroom apartment, but since you have a baby, you're actually going to need to apply for a 2-bedroom unit.
Why is that?
We don't really have to explain it. I'm so sorry for any inconvenience. But if you want to live here, you're going to have to apply for the larger unit.
I really don't need a larger unit. I don't think I can afford that.
Well, the owner makes the rules. I'm just following them.
It's just not fair. What am I supposed to do?
This is not allowed under any circumstances. Fair housing laws protect things like this from happening. The state and federal Fair Housing Acts prohibit discrimination because of a person's race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, whether that be mental or physical, or familial status.
And if you feel like you're being discriminated against, you can call the Office of Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity at 1-800-669-9777.
So do you want your life to look like this?
Or this.